This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Petrinovich, joined as always by my co-host, Kelly Gilster.
Hey guys. Hey Taylor.
Hey, how are you, Kelly?
I'm good. We are at the end of January, which literally flew by. One of the reasons is because I took 3 trips this month. I saw in December, I looked at January and I'm like, okay, I think I can squeeze in so many little trips. And so we took a staycation in the first week of January. Then we went to Mexico the second week of January. And then we went to Utah skiing the third week of January. And I'm actually so excited to just be home and in my routine until you and I go to hybrid. So we're going to be flying out to Charleston and doing hybrid for close to a week. We're flying in the Saturday before and then flying out the Thursday after.
Yeah. Hybrid's going to be a lot of fun. All I picture when you're talking about all your trips in January is the meme from White Lotus where it's the mom and she's like, I'm just not meant to live a rough life. Or what? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, is that I'm not meant to live oh my gosh, I have no idea. I've never watched the show. I bet you White Lotus listeners are like, what? Never watched it.
I just don't think at this age I'm meant to live an uncomfortable life. I don't have the will.
We were talking about some work stuff, texting back and forth, and you're like, I can't because I have to unpack and then pack for my next trip. And all I was thinking was boo.
Boo. You're the worst. But
Okay.
you're going on a trip. You're going to be out in Tennessee.
Yeah, we're actually, as this goes live, in a couple days heading out to Nashville. And we're doing a little league meetup while we are there. So all of our league members, looking forward to seeing you for a little coffee date on that Friday. So on Friday, we're recording this ahead of time sometimes. So my internal schedule gets a little turned around, but it'll be a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure it's going to be colder than it is here in California, which is fine, but definitely makes packing a little bit tricky. But excited to be going to hybrid, yes, to your point, at the end of February. Lots of amazing stuff coming up for Level Up. 2026 is a really, really big year. Lots of exciting things on the horizon. As I'm sure so many of you who are listening are really looking to have an amazing 2026 as well. So this episode, we are excited to be chatting about what that next level of growth looks like in your own business. So many of you guys are at different points in business, at different stages of life, and are really looking to achieve different things. So this is one of those episodes where it's really nice to listen to at the beginning of the year as you're getting your goal setting dialed in and as you're looking to fill your calendar with weddings to finish out your 2026 season. And then as we're opening up our books for 2027, which honestly, it's crazy to think about, but 2027 is going to be here before we know it. So the foundation that you lay right here, right now in 2026 is going to be what ultimately determines how those seasons will look.
Yeah. Taylor, you actually prompted on Instagram, which if you're not a follower on Instagram, go head over to the Level Up Co. And you had asked, how many weddings do you have booked currently? And we got so many replies on that. Some people saying that they're already fully booked for 2026 and they're already actively booking for 2027. And then others who are just kind of taking that slower approach, making sure that they're not over 50% booked here in January of 2026 because they want to leave some room for more opportunities. We saw a lot of people too saying man, I'm only taking 2 more and I'm kind of kicking myself because I booked out of that scarcity mindset of I have to fill my calendar year and I'm going to feel so good about just having that revenue ahead of me already, which I completely understand as entrepreneurs, how great that feels. I remember in going from 2011 to 2012 and then 2012 to 2013, from that to 2014, we were always booking out our year before it started. And I used to be look at me, like, look at this flex. And it really was not the flex that I thought it was because it left me saying no for the rest of the year, which is literally no fun when you like have your calendar all set out and then you're like, well, that would have been really awesome. That wedding is definitely a better opportunity or more exciting than the one that I said yes to last July. So I just kind of learned, and maybe you guys are sitting in that season, depending on where you are in your business growth, where it's okay to say no or to pass on things that feel like they are a caliber of event that would have served you maybe 2 years ago, or maybe just one like, I would just highly recommend keeping some days open on the calendar for opportunities. Taylor, do you wanna speak a little bit more to that and how that maybe looked for you when you went from shooting primarily for volume and more for intentionality?
Yeah, I mean, we've all had that come into our inbox where it's a dream client. Maybe it's a destination you've never worked at before. Maybe it's with a planner you've been really wanting to work with. Or maybe even it's just a client that may have a higher budget than what you were booking at 6 months ago, 9 months ago. And unfortunately, you have to say no. And I mean, it is always so heartbreaking when that happens. I've definitely had that happen to me. And there's really not many options to move forward from that other than to gently decline and maybe point them in a direction where they can hire one of your friends or your colleagues. Unless you already have a robust, like, associate kind of program or arm to your brand, there's nothing you can do about it. We would never recommend canceling a contract in order to move forward with a better opportunity. That's a big no-no. It's a very short-sighted way with like a quick win, but ultimate loss in your business over time. But one of the biggest things that can happen is so many of our listeners, so many of our students are putting in so much work into their businesses. You are reshaping and refreshing your brands. You are adopting new business practices. You're really, really tightening up your portfolio and the way you're approaching weddings, which is in turn, which we love, attracting the eyes of wedding planners. And one of the things that can happen is a wedding planner may reach out a handful of times. And if you are fully booked already for each of those 3 times they reached out and you keep telling them no, they will move on to somebody else. And so it's ultimately a big loss. And honestly, sometimes it can be a wasted effort on your part because all the work you've been doing to get the wedding planner to refute for you kind of backfires, right? And so it's a really, really delicate balance between making sure you're feeling comfortable financially with the amount of weddings that you need to have booked while also leaving calendar dates open for those opportunities that may arise. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like a growing pain that we all have to go through. Like, do you remember when you were a teenager and you'd be just like in PE and your elbows hurt and your knees hurt and your hips hurt because like you're in that like rapid growth phase of life and your body is just literally growing so fast that it's hurting you? Like sometimes that's how it works with business too. And there's no real way to navigate that other than being patient.
Yeah. And I actually would say in those first 3 or so years, I mean, there's gonna be a time where you just have to book to book. You have to book to get that experience. You have to book to make those connections. You just have to book to figure out what it is that fulfills you as an artist creatively, and there's so many different styles of weddings, and there's so many different locations, and do you like shooting, you know, private estate weddings, or do you like shooting at hotels, or like, yeah, what type of properties do you feel like are the best place for your brand and like what you value as an artist? So we highly recommend if you're in that first year of business, if you're in that second year of business, like get out there and book. Like do
Mhm.
it, go for it. Your prices are probably the cheapest that they'll ever be. We hope so, because it's only up from here. And just do it because that's kind of what it takes. Like it just takes the repetition to get better so that then when you start to raise those rates, you're serving that next level of client that are getting the level of experience that they are hoping for from a client experience standpoint because you've had that repetition. I think that one of the things that in this day and age, like I think I we toy that line, and Taylor and I have talked about this a lot. Like we love branding. Like Taylor and I dream of branding. We love a good brand. We love a pretty brand, but you don't want to like out brand yourself without having the experience in your back pocket and like that repertoire that that only comes from shooting and shooting and shooting. But where I think a lot of people get stuck is when they're ready for that next thing. And we talk about kind of the circle of life. Like it's okay to move on from the market that you're serving to make room for those younger other filmmakers and photographers that are coming into the market. And you, because you've had that experience, you've put in your time, you can raise your rates. Maybe you've created that demand in that base market and you're ready for that next market up, then that's okay to be like, thank you for the time that it served me in the mainstream market. Now let's move on to the next. So Taylor, how did that look like in your business when you got out there, you booked, you were shooting a bunch of weddings in the first couple of years just to kind of figure out can I do this full time? Is this something that I can actually fill my calendar year with? And then I have a follow-up question after that.
Yeah. So in those early years, it was all about visibility. And I would say creating an offer that my potential clients would feel silly saying no to. Like those were kind of the two strategies, which a lot of times is the combination of pricing and then what's included in the package or the collection, right? So my first 2 seasons as a wedding videographer, I booked out fully through mostly Facebook groups. I mean, this is in 2017, so the way the industry looked at the time is a little bit different, but I was posting and spamming those Facebook groups like crazy and creating insane packages, like $1,200 for 8 hours of coverage, a 60-minute documentary film, a highlight film, blah, blah, blah. I was really, really stacking it up and it was successful. I mean, I think my biggest wedding season, I booked 18 weddings in a season. So I've never had more than 18 weddings. So most of my career has been between that 15 to 18 wedding per year mark. And then I was also at the time, Instagram was chronological. So your feed and then hashtags all worked chronologically. So I learned that you could hack the system by literally just flooding Instagram with specific hashtags. And if you were on a random Tuesday to search hashtag Sacramento wedding videographer, my business was taking up 90% of the real estate if you gave it 5 swipes. And so I kind of learned to hack it. And so visibility in marketing and creating those offers where they're really, really stacked in value and really inexpensive. And then kind of I branded myself in a way that actually attracted those less expensive clients. So I used terminology like affordable wedding videography or everyone deserves a wedding videographer. That was woven into my brand messaging. And then it wasn't until I shifted my goal, which is where a lot of our listeners are going to be. I shifted my goal from booking, and just filling the calendar to raising my prices and start to refine my business prices so that I can make the same amount of money, if not more, by working a little bit less. And then that turned into more intentionality with the business and the brand. I went through a full rebrand. I learned a lot about the levels of the market that I wanted to get to, that I was aspiring to get to. And I honestly did a huge overhaul of my social media, my approach to that, my website, and I started diving into planner relationships. This is where I started doing styled shoots and reaching out to planners and doing all those kinds of things. And I think the biggest thing is people think it's gonna be really, really instantaneous where you see the results, and it can be on occasion, but it really does take, a year and a half to see the fruits of those labors. But it's kind of fun to see how shifting what you're focusing on can really play a big role in the results that you're getting. And Kelly, I think you might have an analogy that goes along with
Yes.
that.
I do. So a couple weeks ago, if you listen to one of our last week's podcasts, we went to Utah. We took a ski trip. And so we live in Southern California and we don't have all the ski things. So I had to get the outfits and the helmets and the goggles and the gloves and all that. So I get a big Amazon shipment in of things and I'm like, okay, here you guys go. So I'm giving Sloan, who's my almost 4-year-old, and Micah, my almost 7-year-old, all their things. And they're so excited. They're literally walking around their house in their ski suits and their helmets and their gloves and all that. And so especially Micah, he's so excited. And so he's walking around the house and I'm just kind of doing things and he's having a great time. and he's putting on his helmet and he has his gloves and he's loving it and he's going outside and he's coming inside and taking off his gloves, taking off his helmet, all this stuff. Loving it. Probably like an hour into this, he comes in and he automatically just kind of starts to get a little bit whiny, very frustrated, and says, I don't like my gloves. I want different gloves. And I said, well, wait, what do you mean? Like, you loved these gloves. And he's like, I don't love these gloves because these gloves don't let me buckle my helmet. And I said, okay, well, let me show you something. Maybe it's not that the gloves are not something you like anymore, but it's the order in which you're putting them on. So you just need to get a little bit more strategic on the order in which. So of course, they're like the mittens that don't have like the individual fingers. So yeah, that's going to make it really challenging to buckle a helmet with. And so he was running into it where all of a sudden he like switched his order of operations of like putting on the gear, where he was putting on the gloves first and then putting his helmet on and trying to buckle it. And I said, here, let me show you something. So before you put your gloves on, let's leave that as your last step to focus on. So let's put your helmet on, now buckle it. And it was very easy, right? It became so much more of a seamless process. He buckled that helmet and then he put his gloves on. And I said, see, it's not that you don't like the gloves. You were just using them in the incorrect way and like putting them on too soon to where it was causing frustration in buckling your helmet. And he was like, oh, okay. It like totally clicked for him. He was like, okay, cool. I like these gloves. So like helmet on first, then my gloves. And I'm like, yeah. And then it was like no big deal. And I feel like that's where a lot of people, either you're sitting here listening or people who have entered our program, are kind of in the same boat where Micah was, where something worked and they were happy and it just, it flowed seamlessly. And then all of a sudden, now things kind of get flipped on their head and they've just decided that like, well, this doesn't work for me anymore and I'm really frustrated about it. Let's say it's like raising my prices and it's like, well, I'm stuck in this local market that can't support these prices that I've raised them to. And we're like, well, actually, no, your local market can definitely support a higher price adjustment to this, but maybe it's your client experience stuff that needs to be switched around, or maybe it's your booking process that needs to be refined. Maybe it's time for that new website, or really getting in there and changing the copy, or even the order in which potential clients are experiencing your website page. Things like that. Like, I don't know, Taylor, hop in here if there's anything else that you kind of see. But I sent you a voice memo of that analogy, and you're like, I love it because it's where so many people find themselves in year 2, 3, 4, 5 plus in business.
Hey, friends, really quickly, I'm going to interrupt this podcast episode because I just want to say we are so grateful to have you as listeners. Heading into our 2026 wedding season and into 2027 next year, we just know that so much is on the horizon for you. Because you're listening to this podcast, that means you are a really ambitious photographer or filmmaker, or maybe a content creator in the wedding industry who has sights set on the next level of business. The Luxury Mastermind program, which is our signature program here at the Level Up Co., is going to help you do just that. We have helped hundreds of wedding filmmakers and photographers elevate their businesses into that next level. A great example of this is Skylar Ball, who is a wedding filmmaker based in Tennessee, who was charging $3,500 per wedding when he joined our program, and now 18 months later, he's consistently booking at $12,000. We've had other students book their first five-figure wedding during our program, and we've had many, many students be able to double and triple their prices, which sounds crazy, but it's actually true, and we are so proud of them. If you are ready to see growth like that, if you're ready to get to that next level in business, book out your calendar year with weddings at a price point that you feel so proud of, and with weddings that are artistically fulfilling for you and that are just so fun to capture, we would love to welcome you inside our next round of the Luxury Mastermind. We are currently pre-enrolling seats before we officially launch, and students who pre-enroll get a bonus one-on-one coaching call with Kelly or myself, which is something we absolutely do for our students as a little thank you for signing up early. You can go to thelevelupco.com/mastermind to learn more about the program, see what's inside, and to pre-enroll. That should be linked in the description box down below if you're watching on YouTube, or linked in the description if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Kelly and I are so excited for our next cohort of the Luxury Mastermind, and we hope to see you in there so that we can guide you to that next level of business and beyond. Yeah. It's one of those things where a lot of times people think that they don't need to change anything in order to grow, which is like so silly, but it happens to all of us. Like they think that just honestly like slapping new prices on their collections or whatever like is all it takes to successfully raise their prices when that could not be farther than the truth. In fact, we do not advise any of our students to ever just raise their prices for no reason. It's always accompanied by an equal increase in value that we are providing our clients. And that value can be actual value. It could be, maybe your first collection was starting at 6 hours of coverage, and now we're advising you to start at 8 hours of coverage. So of course, it's going to come with a price increase, right? That's a tangible value, but a lot of it can actually be through perceived value as well, which is the brand. I use this story a lot, but you can get a handbag that you it's brown and you can put your phone in it and you can put your lip gloss in it, and you wear it around and it's so cute from Target for $30, or you can get one from Louis Vuitton for $5,000. What is honestly like at the end of the day, what is the difference? And it's a lot of it is perceived value. I mean, you can even get like, let's say genuine leather. Like you can get genuine leather from Louis Vuitton or maybe from Etsy. Like let's say there's a small Etsy shop that sells them for $125. So even the quality is the same. A lot of it's going to be the brand alignment and the perceived value that comes with the brand. So a lot of times elevating your brand is a quantifiable increase in the perceived value. A lot of times too, like we're in the hospitality industry. Like it's not that the Four Seasons has more comfortable beds than the Hampton Inn. It probably does, but let's say the sleeping is equal. Well, Four Seasons greets you by name. They're going to take you on a customized tour of the property. They're going to open your door and show you around your room and show you the amenities, and they will approach you with a concierge level service if you have any requests throughout this day. Meanwhile, the Hampton Inn has an ice machine three doors down from the elevator, right? And so it's the experience. So a lot of times it's really just kind of dissecting what your business looks like and identifying areas that need to be refined. So that you can buckle that helmet before you put the gloves on. And sometimes it takes a set of outside eyes to be able to identify those things for you. It's one of those things where you can't see the forest through the trees. You're so close to it that you don't even know what could possibly change until you start seeing things that others are doing, or you start learning maybe from others where you're falling flat.
Yeah, it's so, so true. I was laughing about your analogy with the beds because actually Four Seasons is like known for their most comfortable beds. Like you
Okay,
could
they are
buy the
comfy.
beds from Four Seasons after. Um, but yes, they are known. Four Seasons is known for very comfortable beds, but also just really amazing hospitality and that next level white glove service that we should
Yeah.
all be implementing within our own businesses as well. Taylor, actually, should we bring in, or do you want to save it for another episode, your Christmas gift that you got?
Which one?
Your YSL bag that
Oh,
your
yeah.
daughter and husband got for you for Christmas.
This is actually great. Yeah. So, if you know me, you know that I am the opposite of a bougie person. Like I drive a goldfish crumb cracker minivan. Like it is whatever. I don't care. I shop at Target. Like honestly, like luxury goods don't do anything for me in general. Like I just don't care. But I mean I could admire them and think they're great, but I don't need them. Anyway, um, the last few Christmases, I have been, I would say, the winner in the household on what gifts I have purchased my husband. Like, I have been really like intentional and like found cool things that he didn't even know he wanted. And I feel like I've been like, if it was a competition, I would have won the last few years. This year, he decided that that is going to be flipped on its head and that he was going to win Christmas this year. Again, not that it's a competition, but he he declared this Christmas to be Bougemiss. He was trying to like, make yeah, okay. He did a thing. Where he said like all these gifts are going to have like a running theme through them. And there's a couple of things that he got me like Lululemon like gloves to wear when I'm walking, things like that. But the like biggest gift was, yeah, a YSL bag. And he had asked me like a month before Christmas, like, if you were to have something like this, like, which brands are you liking? And I don't know why I just like am drawn to that bag. I just am. I don't know. Anyway, so I opened the gift and I'm very excited and I'm actually like pretty surprised that he bought that. And James and my middle daughter, Lucy, were really excited to tell me the story about their shopping experience. I live close to a really, really nice mall. We have all the brands. We have the Aritzia, North Face, the Chanel, the Gucci, like all the brands. And so whenever we walk on that side of the mall, it's always really fun to kind of like ooh and ah and like look through the windows at the displays and things like that. So James took Lucy to the mall to go shopping for this bag, and they had never experienced a shopping experience quite like this one. When they walked in, they were approached by a salesperson who is now our family's dedicated salesperson for Saint Laurent. Um, they offered my daughter water and she said, "Yes, please." And they said, "Okay, well, would you like sparkling or still water?" And she was like, "I don't know, you pick." And she was so excited to tell me that she was brought both, both types of waters. Um, there was, like, a few other, like, fun little, like, things that they experienced during their shopping trip, but, um, they didn't care so much to tell me the details of the bag. They were just so excited to tell me about the experience of purchasing the bag, which I felt like stood out as, like, the general everyday consumer, what we're really actually paying attention to. It's a very, very different shopping experience than either, like, Nordstrom is pretty nice, but you're still gonna walk into Nordstrom and find the thing on the shelf and pick it up and walk to the register with it instead of being seated in like a really comfortable couch, being brought a beverage, having maybe like the top 3 selections be brought to you so you can hold them, experience them, and decide what to move forward with. And then you hand them the credit card and they walk away and like do the transaction while you're sitting there comfortably. Like it's kind of a really cool thing to look at the nuances. And again, it's not necessarily that the bag is any better than what you would get at a different store. A lot of it is woven into the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It really is when you walk away with being on a vacation or something like that. A lot of times, the stories in which you're telling your family members or your friends, I find myself being woven through experience of like we took this trip with a group of friends to Mexico. And of course, it was gorgeous and beautiful, but it was like, but we had this, like, really incredible, like, woman, Angie, that, like, came in the morning and cooked us breakfast, and just the way in which she just, like, worked, like, around us and, like, set the table and then, like, would be working in between, like, the kitchen to come out to the outside table where we were having, breakfast. She would, like, close the doors so we could have our privacy, and she was just, like, so discreet, and she just moved so luxuriously. I don't know how to explain it, but, like, she knew what it meant to provide a really great experience, and I can appreciate it because it's the same level that I would love to, provide to all of my clients as well, and so just thinking about that, it's so different. If we would have had someone come in that was maybe, like, really loud as they prepared breakfast, or they, like, talked to us, like, a bunch where we were just kind of there to, like, enjoy each other's company rather than all of that, like, she was just a great value add, and her presence was, like, such a present to us, that it was just amazing, and it just made it, like, y breakfast was great, but, like, her experience was honestly the best thing.
I love that. I mean, if you can pretty much draw parallels from anywhere in the hospitality industry and apply it to what we do as wedding creatives. Like that's the difference between like trying to make small talk or chit-chatting about your vacation to your second shooter loudly in the bridal suite while like all the bridesmaids and like the VIPs are getting ready. Like they don't need to be hearing those conversations, right? Like there's very small things that you can do that will honestly either indicate you're maybe more like entry level or you are a luxury service provider and the devil is in the details truly. Actually, Kelly, before we hit record, you had a really great point, and that was a mistake a lot of people make is photographers and filmmakers who get started in their careers by primarily second shooting. They have a lot of second shooting gigs under their belt, especially for brands that are far more established in themselves. They think that they can enter the market at the price points that the the primary shooter is shooting at. And I think this is like actually a really great example of why that's not the case is a lot of the experience and like the etiquette and the different things that go into creating a brand have not been built yet.
Yeah, I think it's such like a kind of a false sense of reality. So if you're listening here and you kind of built a lot of your experience based on second shooting and now you're looking to pivot into growing your own business, which I've been seeing a lot of. I don't know if it's just kind of like who we've been conversing with, like through email or DMs or whatever. But we even had a few mastermind students enter our fall mastermind that were in that situation where they've second shot a lot. They've second shot luxury weddings. Like they've done it, but they haven't done all of it. They've maybe done 20% of what it takes, where that other photographer has done 100% of mastering all the things. It's very different to just, show up and maybe be the secondary shooter and not particularly the lead shooter on, a luxury event, but they're not handling like all of the logistics of the timeline in conjunction with the planner and the booking process and leading that consultation the way that that photographer did in order to secure that booking. And so, like I said, that false sense of reality is I've booked these luxury weddings. I've worked these luxury weddings before. I've worked alongside these clients. And so therefore, when I'm starting my own business, I'm just going to come in maybe just below or right at that same price point because I've done it before. When actually, like, you almost have to look at it as sure, you may have 3 to 5 years as a luxury second photographer, but you can't just come in and demand like the same rates because you're just not the same brand. And so it's almost like coming in all over again as year one. And now, like Taylor talked about earlier on in this podcast episode, it's visibility, visibility, visibility. But yet there's a great part of that. You get to understand like the levels in which the industry offers as far as levels of luxury and things like that. So you might have a little bit more of a clearer understanding, which is where a lot of value comes in terms of second shooting for, higher level photographers. But it doesn't mean that that translates into what you can charge your own clients as a lead. And so just know that that's okay. Like, that's okay. It's just that it's just an awareness of, like, you gotta build it for yourself first. You can't build it based on what someone else built and then kind of come in thinking that the same level of demand's gonna be there and visibility and all that stuff.
I will say, like, you will grow faster than a
Yes.
counterpart who has not had that experience. So just take that and like run with it and know that you're still going to start at the same starting line as somebody with no experience, but your race will be off to a quicker start. And I would also like to say, so we kind of identified two different goals that somebody in the industry might have, right? Like booking more and then charging more. And it's, I think, important to note that you're actually going to fluctuate between the two. It's going to go back and forth, right? So, like in the beginning, you want to book, and then you raise your prices. And then it's kind of hard to successfully get there. You do a lot of refining, there's some growing pains, but then now you want to book out your calendar again. So, you're going to go between like visibility and like really making sure your marketing is pushing, and that's going to look different through different seasons too, right? Like your clients are finding you through different avenues, right? So maybe in the beginning it was the knot, and then it's organic Instagram, and then it's Instagram ads, and then it's planner relationships, right? So that's going to grow as well. But you're always going to kind of toggle between the two goals: refinement, book, refinement. And season after season, you're going to be refining different things and then re-refining things that you refined 3 years ago because now that's either outdated or your new level of client actually has different expectations or whatever. So that's one of the things that I would love to leave people with at the end of this episode is if you are here in the industry, you are wanting to make a really great living and you're wanting to have staying power within the industry as well, just embrace the fact that you're never going to stop learning, you're never going to stop growing, and you're always going to be trying to push to that next level. Brands that stay where they are going to be very quickly surpassed by people who are ready to get to that level, right? So if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. If you're not swimming, you're sinking. So just really stay sharp. And that's where I hope that podcasts like this, like help you keep your head in the game. Resources like our shop, our mastermind courses, or even going to different conferences. Like we said, we're going to be at Hybrid next month. Like even if you don't feel like you need to learn, like you don't feel like you're in a place where you need to seek out education, you're always going to pick up little bits and pieces and nuggets that you can apply to your business, or at least stay motivated to continue moving forward in your business too. So there's so many ways that you can do that. And yeah, I don't know. I've just watched so many brands like essentially sink because they refuse to swim, and it's such a tragedy every time.
Yeah. I mean, what you've built, when you decided that you wanted to become a business owner, a photographer that shoots beautiful weddings all throughout the country, I think we all start with this big dream. And I just hope that in 2026 is like the year that you really capture that dream and make it a reality for yourself. I know that that sounds like woo woo and everything, but having years that feel like you fell short year after year really chip away at our confidence as entrepreneurs. And maybe this is the year where you're like, okay, I've tried to do it all on my own and I know that it's probably not working. And maybe it's something that we just have to like lay down our egos. I know for me, I held I held myself back on education a lot because I was like, well, I went to school for film. I'm a filmmaker. I already went to school for this. Like, I don't really feel like I need to like know the ins and outs of like the wedding industry. And that couldn't have been farther from the truth. And the second that I like laid my ego aside and said, hey, let's see what other people have to say. And not just other people, people that are operating in the level of in the level of the market that was my ultimate. That was like, wow, if I could make it here, that would be so incredible for my life. And now 15 years later, like I still have that same level of drive and I'm continuing to swim. Had 3 kids. That kind of like I kind of was sinking there for a second in the 3 kid shuffle, but like just know that it's going to be a constant push for yourself and we want you to stay motivated and we want you to keep that momentum. And maybe this is a momentum building year. If you've kind of felt like the inquiries aren't coming in as steadily or the no's are coming in a little bit more often than you'd like, then build that momentum for yourself here in 2026. And Taylor and I are so excited that you're a podcast listener because we want to keep you motivated alongside with us as we grow with our own businesses and bring you along with us. So great episode, Taylor. I'm excited for next week's as well. And I hope you guys all have a great week. If there was a key takeaway that you learned inside of this episode, please DM us or you can send us an email always, hello@thelevelupco.com. We reply to every message and we love seeing your names in our inbox or in our DMs. Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.